Coming up on Network Africa, a suicide car bomb explodes at a checkpoint near Somalia's National Theatre in Mogadishu. And court approval for marriage of pregnant 13-year-old sparks protest in Tunisia. And then farming without soil is seen as a solution in Egyptian land without water. It's great to have you on the program today. I am BC Adebayo. The police in Mozambique has confirmed the death of Valentina Guebuza, daughter of former President Armando Guebuza. The police says she was shot dead in the capital Maputo, and her husband Zofino Munyani has been arrested in connection to the alleged murder. Ms. Guebuza, who was 36 years old, is said to have been shot several times and died of her wounds on the way to the hospital. The police say the first possible cause being investigated is a case of domestic violence. Mrs. Guebuza was listed as the 7th most powerful young woman in Africa by Forbes magazine in 2013 and held strong positions in telecommunication companies and family businesses. The United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has condemned the takeover of Gambian Elections Commission headquarters by soldiers and asked them to vacate the building immediately. He called the action an outrageous act of disrespect to the will of the Gambian people and defiance towards the international community. The Gambian President Yahya Jammeh, who took power in a coup in 1994, initially conceded defeat to Adama Barrow and later rejected the results and challenged the outcome at the Gambia Supreme Court. A delegation of presidents representing the regional bloc ECOWAS traveled to Gambia on Tuesday but failed to reach a deal that would see Jammeh step down. And in Tunisia, demonstrators have gathered outside the parliament to protest against the decision of a court approving the marriage of a 13-year-old girl to a relative who got her pregnant. They say the law must be changed.
Thousands of demonstrators gathered in front of the Tunisian parliament to call for the reform of the penal code, focusing on the article that requires rape charges to be dropped if the perpetrator marries the victim. On Tuesday, December 13, a Tunisian court approved the marriage of a 13-year-old girl to the man, a 21-year-old relative who got her pregnant. A decision sparked protests across the country from non-governmental organizations which said the girl was a victim of rape, a voice echoed by protesters outside Parliament in Bardo City. According to local media reports, a judge from the northwestern region of Kef decided that the girl was fit for marriage as she was already pregnant and discharged the 21-year-old man as both families demanded marriage to avoid a scandal.
There is no human being that can bear this law. How can a 13-year-old girl endure the worst thing that we can live through, as if it's not enough? The legislation offers her assaulter the right to assault her for the rest of her life.
The Ministry of Women and Children Affairs says that it disapproves such practices and insisted that the case should be considered as an underage child and the wedding has to be cancelled. The Parliament has started working on a draft law that tackles violence against women. However, it is still pending commissions and not considered a priority.
The police in Somalia have confirmed a suicide car bomb explosion at a checkpoint near the country's National Theatre in the capital, Mogadishu. Witnesses say the explosion was followed by gunfire. The National Theatre stands about 500 meters away from the presidential palace. There was no immediate word on whether anybody else was killed or injured. The explosion also destroyed the front wall of a nearby restaurant, but no one has claimed responsibility for the attack. But Al-Shabaab militants have been trying to disrupt Somalia's ongoing parliamentary elections due to end on December the 29th. The VOA's Mohammed Ola joins me now to discuss the issue in Mogadishu. Thank you for your time, Mohammed.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us what the situation is like in Mogadishu at the moment.
Well, minutes before I came here, I spoke to our stringers back home, Somalia, and they tell me that the situation is a little bit calm right now as we speak. But early in the day, there was an explosion inside Mogadishu where a car bomb blew up near the presidential palace and a very popular Western-style restaurant in Mogadishu, killing the suicide bomber and wounding 3 others. Also, the same time, another explosion, IED, improvised device, blew up in a government checkpoint near Mogadishu's entry point in the southwest, killing 7 government soldiers and wounding 16 others, including children. So these 2 explosions occurred. The situation is calm, and journalists say that things are now returning to normal.
It's good to know that the situation is calm, but it's not the first time we're seeing attacks like this in that country. So what's the government doing to prevent this from happening again?
Well, government has been using all its security apparatus it could find to prevent such attacks in the capital, Mogadishu, and other areas in Somalia where bullying of the presidential election and the parliamentary election, all these things are supposed to happen. And already the parliamentary election is ended, but these attacks by the militants came at a time the country is getting ready for the election of the president on 28th of this month. So the government has been providing the security personnel everywhere in the country, and with the help of the African Union peacekeepers based in Mogadishu, Somalia. So they say, however we try, someone who is willing to die and kill himself and kill others cannot be stopped. But the government says media always reports the few attacks that happen while we foil many others in the capital, which go and reported in the Somali capital or the media by itself. That's what the government is accusing the media. But the situation is a little bit better now, and the country is going forward to hold election. And Al-Shabaab wants to say, we are here.